This next individual, I had a little personal tie with. Nancy, I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but it's 21 years ago. I was at my first trade show. I don't know a soul. My eyes are wide. I don't know anything about propane. And it must have looked that way because Nancy kind of came up, introduced herself. And then she introduced me to the Young Gassers event. And I got there. I had no idea what the Young Gassers event was, so I'm just, again, I don't know anything. So she kind of took me by the hand, introduced me to a few people, and I kind of do my walking around and doing my networking a little bit, and then I turned back around to see Nancy, to thank her, and she was gone. So I was like, she kind of like clipped my wings, and you let me fly. So thank you, Nancy. I don't know if you remember that, but I do, and because I didn't know what was going on, so thank you. Nancy Coop is familiar with this stage. She was up here in 2014 honoring her late father, Casey Jarvis, during his Hall of Fame induction. We're not sure if that type of family connection will ever be matched again in the Hall of Fame. That's pretty amazing. Not only that, but as we've known and heard earlier, Nancy becomes the first woman to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And here's why.
None of this was Nancy Coop's idea. Not becoming part of the propane industry, not owning a propane business, and certainly not helping start a pivotal organization that would earn her a place in its history. And yet, with each step, Coop has embraced life's twists and turns with genuine interest, grace, and a commitment to excellence that forged a path for others to follow. Coop watched with a child's interest when her father, Casey Jarvis, started Jarco in 1959 to manufacture propane bobtail trucks. She and her younger brothers had worked a few summers for their father, but when Coop went off to college, she studied art history before trying a variety of jobs. Over the years, her dad had asked her to join his business, but the time never seemed right. Until one day in 2005, Coop's husband, Tuck, and his friend went out for a beer and came home having sketched out a business plan to buy Jarco, with Coop at its helm. Coop continued her father's well-engineered truck designs and expanded the business by adding a sales force. Within 5 years, the thriving business attracted a buyer. Coop went on to business development roles with Feral Gas and then Cetane Associates, where she now works as Director of Marketing. But it's her work on behalf of the industry that has earned her colleagues' appreciation and a spot within the LP Gas Hall of Fame alongside her father. Soon after joining Jarco, Coop recognized the dearth of women in leadership positions, even at her own company. Coop joined the NPGA Conventions Committee, and it was there in 2009 that the suggestion was made to add an organization to support women within propane. The Women in Propane Council was formed in 2012 with the missions of leadership training, mentoring, and networking, and Coop was asked to lead it. She was gratified by the support it received from the industry. Today, the organization has about 500 members, and 15% of them are men. As its founding chairperson, Coop is proud to have shaped the industry's culture on behalf of fellow women. Her induction tonight recognizes, in her estimation, the efforts of the entire Women in Propane Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Coop.
This honor is a tribute to all the women in propane. Every one of you. I am the one standing here tonight, but if it weren't for the women who came before this and those who are working and doing strong and bold work today, I wouldn't be standing here. From this viewpoint, I'm very humbled. Many have paved the way for where women are today in our industry, and with their continued accomplishments and achievements, and with your nominations, many will stand here in the future. Yes. I didn't write a speech for the last two possible Hall of Fame inductions. Okay. But I did this time, and I was thinking about it as I was walking near a beach where I live, and I thought about having grown up in Southern California in a beach town, and that I was always, you know, the waves just come in steadily and reliably, and it was just, you know, it was really, I realized how important my environment is to, when it's familiar like that and has some of those reliable aspects of it, that I'm in my comfort zone. So that made me think, what happened in our industry that helped me to become an agent of change? I thought, what was it? Well, it was thanks to my dad. Thanks to my dad, I joined this industry in 2005, and Dad had made a career out of the propane industry. He was really someone who thought outside the box, and he did his very best. When he became ill, I had to learn how to run a bobtail company. Okay. That took me a while, obviously, and after a while, I thought it was time to get involved with the National Propane Gas Association. This is where things started to change. I went to my first board meeting of the MPGA, and I walked into the boardroom, and many of you have been to those boardrooms and those board meetings, and I was shocked, really, truly stunned. There was a sea of nearly 200 men and less than a handful of women at the board tables. This is true. And I thought, where was the disconnect? I'd seen women at the trade shows, and there were plenty of them. There were men and women there, and I thought, where are they? They were not represented at the leadership tables. Right then and there, I knew that my workplace environment was not in my comfort zone, and I knew we could do better. The Women in Industry concept was started by Tom Janicki. This was in Texas in 2010. We were at a conventions committee meeting, one of the great planning meetings that we have, and he had been working with other industries where he'd seen this concept be successful, and he thought perhaps it was time for the propane industry to take on something like this. So the seed was planted, and with a few bold women and who are willing to take the risks of being the leaders of a brand new organization, the council was formed. Today, hundreds take part in the council's activities every year, and this year it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. Was it smooth sailing? The second chair of the council was Jill Hopkins, and she recently emailed me saying it was some of the most frustrating and some of the most rewarding work that she's ever done. I agree. It took some courage, it took perseverance, and even prayer. But we did. We formed a council whose mission was to provide positive opportunities for the entire industry, and we established the 3 pillars that were mentioned earlier: networking, training, and mentorship. This organization was founded essentially by women, and we are a group that champions the principles of diversity and inclusion for everyone. There were challenges early on, and occasionally even some disrespect. I mention that because there was a sort of a low point for me. The frustrations were high, and my spirits were low. And we were at a board meeting in Portland, Oregon, where one of my daughters lives. And I had a chance, of course, to vent with her and tell her. She could see it on my face, and it was like, I don't know about this women in propane stuff. And she wisely counseled me. She said, would it make a difference if you considered that you were doing this for your grandchildren? And it did, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. Today, for the younger generation, for all of our sons and daughters and grandchildren, there is a dedicated force of volunteers who fulfill this mission. We are an all-volunteer organization, and you are welcome to become involved, to become an agent of change in your own company, in your own careers, or in the careers of others. There are 6 women who accepted the position of chair of the Women in Propane, and I'm going to name these 6 brave souls. One is Jill Hopkins, a name I mentioned already. She was a fearless and effective leader, and she was my constant collaborator until she retired, which is, I don't understand that. Next was Jane Stroupe, and Jane was a really, truly respected leader across the nation, and cancer took Jane's life before she could become the chair and fulfill that role. Next was my fellow Californian and well-liked advocate, Cindy Belmont. Next was Kelly Bosack, who was, she's an expert in training skills. She's the one who trains the trainers. She elevated what the Women in Propane Council was going to be about and how we could have quality programs throughout. Lori Irish Jones, who is here tonight, is a steady and inspired leader, and I would say the same about her friendship. She is a constant collaborator also. And our current chair is Jennifer Jackson. Yeah. Yes. Jennifer Jackson is a natural leader, a completely natural leader, and she is undaunted by a pandemic. Heck, I think she's pretty much undaunted by everything. For these women, they have my ultimate admiration and gratitude. There are 5 men who are allies, and they believe in the mission, and I want to name them tonight and thank them. First is Tom Janicki. You are the all-knowing man who brought this idea to our industry. He also is a collaborator and continues to mentor me, which I really appreciate, Tom. Sam Mcteer, another one who's passed and he was a very wise man. He is the one who helped me choose to stay in the propane industry and to join the NPGA. Casey Jarvis. He is the lovable guy who taught me to respect people and to be mindful of what I say. At a very young age, he taught me that. He is a fellow inductee and my dad. Steve Abate. He's an exceptional leader and my friend, and he's the man who nominated me. He also hired me, and it's the favorite job of my life. That's true. And Tuck Coop. He's second to none. He's the first in my heart. He married me and supports me always. I am lucky to be here. I'm filled with gratitude and really mighty joy for this evening and for this occasion and for all of you being here. I'm so thankful that my family is here, my CTAIN buddies, associates, MPGA leaders and friends and colleagues, and especially to the individuals, the men and women who make women in propane an asset for all of our businesses and therefore for our entire industry. I want to congratulate Doug, Richard, and Joe for their induction into the Hall of Fame. And I want to thank you, LP Gas Magazine, for all the work you do for our industry. That this is another area where you've elevated the industry in a really important way. And I have to say, it is really wonderful to see propane looking so grand. Thank you.